Hey guys, what's up? Zuda here, bringing you a PvP game. This is one of my first PvP games at level 40. It's played against Ice Acid. It's a ranked game, one of my first ranked games from on the release realm. We're on Marathon realm. I wanted to bring this video to everyone just to kind of show people how I play Egypt a little bit. I think a lot of people are kind of confused on a little bit of the openings for Egypt, being no one's really seen them since beta. I was fortunate enough to have quite a few games played with them in beta and while I was working at MGS as well. So I'm just going to kind of bring my style so people can kind of see it if they want to try it out. They can if they want to comment and think they have something better. You know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion as well. So let's just take a look at kind of the start that I'm doing. My start is pretty standard for Egypt. In that I put up my first storehouse and I get up that berry picking right away. One thing you'll notice that I do differently here than what a lot of people are used to for Greeks is I do not build that starting storehouse over on my berries. A lot of Greek players put the starting storehouse on the berries, but one thing you have to remember is when you play Egypt, you have that empowerment drop-off rate, and when you miss out on that, you miss out on about 10% of your economy. So if you have really close berries, kind of like I do here in this game, it's probably okay just to let them run a little bit. If you look at the trees and the gold, that's not so good to have them run that far. So you can see I put my starting storehouse over there on an area where I could get both trees and gold, and am gathering both of those resources there. Another thing to note is I don't really waste any time in aging up. When you take a look at Greek players and some other Egyptian players maybe, they kind of slow play it in age 1 a little bit. I don't do that so much because when you get to age 2, you get more priestesses out. Your economy just kind of snowballs and just gets ahead. So as long as you can continue to have constant villager production, you should be fine. So you can see I'm putting down a barracks, pretty standard stuff. Like against Egypt and an Egypt mirror, a lot of slingers is pretty standard. Some people say it's kind of stale, but you know, time will tell. As the game develops, I'm sure there'll be a lot better openings and more crisp openings, and when people learn the timings better, there'll be more stuff you can do with war elephants and fast aging and stuff like that. Chariots are probably pretty abusable as well. Just have to see how that plays out. So you can see right away here I get my barracks up and I'm getting a second Priestess of Ra and even a third Priestess of Ra. You want to make sure you get those Priestesses of Ra out as fast as you can, and so to do that you get a couple guys over mining gold into the transition pretty early, so that you can, with that starting 100, you have 150 when you get aged up and you can get those two Priestesses out. I house myself a little bit, try not to do that. Probably one of the little mistakes I made early on. My house placement's a little sloppy as well early on, but you know, do what you do, whatever. Start making slingers right off the bat. And pretty much the look you want to your early setup for economy is just enough villagers on food to do a couple of things. Keep constant villager production, of course, that's always really important. Second thing you want to make sure is you get that first wood gathering upgrade. I've got a rare closet organizer Irene on, so it makes my upgrade 65% less, which is useful. If I had better advisors, you know, you'd move your economy accordingly. If you had Thutmose, you would probably put a couple more on so that you could get that wood upgrade, but nonetheless, you want to make sure you get the wood upgrade early. The coin upgrade is important as well, probably not quite as important as the wood upgrade is, being you gather so much wood. But you can kind of see my split, 393. That's pretty standard, I would say. Maybe you'd put one or two more on food if you didn't have Irene, so that you can keep constant vills and get that upgrade. But this is kind of the look you want early on, and then you just kind of want to play with a big barracks play. So you can see I'm just dropping extra barracks as I get enough, while keeping up the slinger population just flowing out. And then I'm going to do a little poke here, see what I can see, do a little bit of scouting that way. I think I might have foolishly lost my scout. No, I don't think I did, actually. I don't know where he is. He should be closer to my army, but whatever, he's not. Um, Running up my slingers, just kind of seeing what he has. You can see my units, even though I'm level 40, aren't terribly geared up. They're alright. I guess I think they've got like a level 20 sling on them or something, and I've got that practice sword, which helps them come out a little faster, but nothing too great. So you can see just keeping up the spam, really, of houses, barracks, and slingers. You want to just keep all that constantly going, keeping your resource levels as low as you can. And I would say that's probably the most difficult thing for a lot of people with Egypt early on, is just keeping your resources low and keeping that that macro going, keeping up the unit production. I would say a lot of the games that I've played so far and won, a lot of them is just because you outproduce people and because they're just not making use of their resources in a proper way. So you can see even now it's still, very few people on food because I'm not planning on making camels or axemen or anything like that. Just keeping a little bit of food so that I can keep making villagers. And then it's mostly over on wood. And then when you want to start mixing in things like armory upgrades, maybe you want to do camels, maybe you want to age, maybe you want to start getting ready for an extra town center or fortress play, that's when you would add on the additional villagers to food or to stone or something like that. If you're going for an age play and you want to try and age sometime, in an intermediate spot, then you'd maybe start adding some villagers on food. But for the time being, in this game plan is pretty much just to keep making slingers, keep up the harass, try and pick off some units when I can, try and always be the aggressive one so that I can have map control and don't need to worry too much about raids, because you can see there now he's got out camels. When I see that camel coming out, I know that I really want to keep up my pressure, because if I go back to my base and I let him make use of his camels and make use of that mobility that he brings, that could put me a little bit behind. So more of the same here. Extra barracks, getting an armory. Usually, I would say armory can come maybe a little earlier than I do here, especially if you're going with this heavy slinger play. But I would say maybe 5th, 6th barracks is early, and 8 is kind of late. So somewhere in between there. Is probably about right. Here I make a little bit of a misplay, make a misclick. Oops, put down a barracks, but oh well. Delete that. You can also see when I was over on my wood there, I was starting to stockpile, or not stockpile, rather, I was starting to get a little bit of a gap between my forest line and my storehouse, which you want to try and avoid if you can. So that's another kind of important little macro thing, is when you're gathering your wood, you want to try and keep that as close to your wood line as possible, and then just not getting housed. With Egypt, I think that's one of the most important things, is just making sure you don't get housed. If you can keep up the villagers, keep up the slingers, and always be producing, you're going to be fine. Yeah, it's just keeping up the pressure, keeping up the macro, and keeping up and always being aggressive and trying to keep the other guy off his resources, harass him, take down units when you can. Just having good unit control, not getting caught in bad spots, is the most important things. So you can see I just keep going in here. Now I've got a little bit of an advantage. Going back and forth a little bit, I've just kind of been hitting and running, keeping up my units. My macro's pretty good here. I've got a little bit extra wood that's coming in, but that's okay because I'm making a lot of buildings. I probably need to transfer over to gold, which it looks like I did. So yeah, just keeping up the units here, keeping on his doorstep, trying not to let him get out of his base. He's making camels and he's made some food units. Which leads me to believe that he's probably, if he's still on food units, probably running out of his starting food. And if he's running out of his starting food, maybe I can make a play on some villagers that I might catch outside. So I kind of just stand on that hunt, go back and forth a little bit, try and keep him off it while keeping up my macro. I would say around this time in most games is about the time you would want to look to start aging. With Egypt, it's really easy to just kind of, keep clicking D, 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 and you've got a whole bunch of slingers out, and before you know it, you're at 140 out of 140, and you can't do anything. And at that point, best case scenario, you can attack and kill a bunch of his stuff while he kills some of yours and lets you kind of keep macroing. But if you get stuck in a standstill and you can't really make an aggressive play on him, and you're stuck at 140 pop, then you're kind of you're just a little out of luck. So I would say now would be the time that you would want to especially try and get some more guys onto food, get your gold income a little higher, even out your resources to about 400 across the board, so you can try and keep aging. But you can see from this game that my aggressive move has pretty much just played to my advantage, and I'm just pretty far enough ahead now that I can just win. So from here, just a couple things to take away from this. It's just going to be a short video. I think it's only 10 minutes long or so. Just if you need to watch the opening again, go watch the opening, but always just keep making units. Make sure that you don't fall behind in production. Make sure you don't get housed. That's one of the most important things with Egypt. You have 8 barracks, 6 barracks, whatever, how many barracks you have, and you're making all those units at a time, and they come out so fast, and before you know it, you'll be at 140 pops. So just try and keep aggressive with them if you can. Trading in small numbers is often good for Egypt, because you trade little numbers for villagers or whatever, and they train so fast and they're so cheap that it's really easy to keep them coming. So that is where GG is, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully I can be bringing more soon with some streaming as well. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.